Let's talk about something we've all probably felt at some point, that weird, puffy, swollen feeling you can get in your hands, your ankles, or your feet. But what is really going on inside our bodies when that happens? Well, we're about to find out.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You've been stuck on a plane for hours, you finally get to your destination, and bam! Your shoes suddenly feel like they're a size too small. Or maybe it happens after a really long day on your feet. Well, that swelling has a name, and we're going to dig into what it is.
So that swelling is called peripheral edema, and at its heart, it's all about a fluid imbalance. You know, think of your body's circulatory system like a really complex plumbing network. Edema is what happens when that system gets a little backed up and some fluid leaks out and gets trapped in your tissues. And because of gravity, that extra fluid often gets pulled down, which is exactly why we tend to notice it most in our legs and feet.
Okay, so how do you know if what you're seeing and feeling is actually edema? Well, thankfully, there are some pretty clear signs you can look out for.
It's not just about that swollen, puffy look. Your arms or legs might feel really heavy, maybe a little achy or even stiff. Your skin might feel super tight, almost stretched, and maybe warm when you touch it. And yeah, that struggle to get your shoes on in the evening, that's a classic sign. You might even notice the number on the scale jump up suddenly, not from fat, but from all that extra fluid your body is holding onto.
Here's a really simple test you can do yourself. It's called the pitting test. All you do is press your finger firmly into the swollen area for about 5 seconds. Then pull your finger away. If you see a little dent, a pit, left in your skin for a few seconds, well, that's a classic sign of what doctors call pitting edema.
All right, so we know what it looks like and what it feels like, but the really big question is why? Why is this happening in the first place? Well, the reasons can be incredibly different, ranging from no big deal to something you need to pay attention to.
The causes really fall into two main buckets. In one bucket, you've got temporary triggers. These are things usually tied to your lifestyle that tend to go away on their own, maybe after you put your feet up overnight. But in the other bucket, swelling can be a persistent signal from your body, a warning sign that there might be a more serious underlying health issue that needs a closer look.
Let's start with the everyday culprits, the really common and usually much less worrisome reasons you might be dealing with some swelling.
This one is probably the biggest offender for most of us. When you sit or stand in one spot for a long time, think a cross-country flight or a full day chained to your desk, you're not using your leg muscles much. See, those muscles are what help pump blood back up towards your heart, so without that pumping action, gravity just takes over, and fluid starts to pool down in your legs. Simple as that.
And then you've got other common triggers all around us. Are you a big fan of salty snacks? Well, all that extra salt can make your body hang on to more water. Hormonal shifts during a menstrual cycle can definitely do it. And for pregnant women, it's almost a given. Up to 80% of them experience some swelling. Even something as simple as wearing really tight clothing can be enough to restrict blood flow and lead to some puffiness.
Okay, now we need to shift gears a little, because sometimes that swelling isn't just a temporary thing. Sometimes it's your body's way of sending up a flare, signaling that something more significant might be going on underneath the surface.
You see, persistent edema can be a symptom of some pretty serious conditions. The number one cause is something called venous insufficiency. This affects up to a third of all people. Basically, the tiny one-way valves in your leg veins get weak, letting blood flow backward and pool. A weak heart can cause a similar backup, kind of like a traffic jam in your circulatory system. And then there are your body's amazing filter systems. If your kidneys are damaged, they can't get rid of enough salt and water. And if your liver is scarred, it can also cause a major fluid backup.
Now, this next part is absolutely critical, so I'm going to read it to you directly because it's that important. If edema occurs suddenly in one leg and your leg becomes painful, it could be caused by a blood clot. It's a serious condition and requires emergency medical help. Let me repeat that. This is not a wait-and-see situation. Sudden, painful swelling in just one leg means you need emergency medical help right away.
Okay, I know hearing about those serious causes can be a little unnerving, so you're probably wondering, what can I actually do about all this? Well, the good news is there are a lot of really effective ways to manage swelling.
For those more common, temporary causes, there are some super simple things you can do right at home. Propping your legs up on a few pillows, the key is to get them above the level of your heart, is a fantastic way to let gravity do the work for you. Just getting up and moving around helps get those leg muscles back on the job. And of course, cutting back on salty foods, wearing compression stockings, or even gently massaging the area can all bring a ton of relief.
So yeah, these home remedies are great for those temporary issues. But what if the swelling just doesn't seem to go away? Is doing this stuff at home always going to be enough?
And here's the absolute bottom line. For swelling that sticks around day after day, managing the symptoms is only half the story. The real treatment, the only thing that truly fixes it, is to figure out and address the underlying cause. And that means the single most important thing you can possibly do is to go see your doctor to get a proper diagnosis.
So, let's pull all of this together. If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that you should think of swelling not just as an annoyance, but as a potential signal from your body.
This chart breaks it down perfectly. Look, it's a swelling is pretty much the same in both legs. You can connect it to something you did, like that long flight, and it gets better when you put your feet up. It's probably just temporary. But you absolutely need to talk to a doctor if it pops up suddenly in just one leg, if it's painful and doesn't go away, or if it comes along with other scary symptoms like being short of breath.
So the next time you notice that puffiness in your ankles or hands, just take a moment. Don't just ignore it. Ask yourself, is my body trying to send me a signal? Because listening to it just might be one of the most important things you ever do for your health.